Okay, I'm going to review with you now the Painter 10 interface. Over here we have the tool palette, which is on our right, and we can place it anywhere we want. On top we have the menu bar, and right under the menu bar we have something called the property bar. And the property bar can be moved anywhere we want, and its default is just right under the menu bar, and it pops into place. And for those of you that use Photoshop, you're familiar with the property bar is very similar to the info palette. And the property bar changes according to what tool you have selected in the tool palette. Not only does it change according to which tool you have selected, but once you're in the brush tool, it will change according to each brush that you choose. Okay? So, over here are our brushes. Now the brushes work very differently in Painter than they do in other programs. You have two things that you have to know. In the brush category, which is on your left, you have many different categories. Okay? So you choose a brush category, and once you chose your brush category, you have to proceed to choose what variation of that category you want to use. So on the right of each brush category, you have many 10 to 20 different brushes. So these are not more brush categories, these are variations of the brush that you chose. Let me explain. Here I have the oils. I just chose the oils from picking the oil icon. So I'm in the oils. This is my oil category. Now if I go over to the right, I have all these. I have flat oils, glazing oils. All these brushes are different oil brushes. They are different variations of the oil brush. So everything on the right of the icon is a variant. Everything on the left is the category. Okay? I will go into all the different particular brushes that we need to know for photo painting. But let me continue a little bit about some more of the palettes. All the palettes are found in the window menu. So if I were to accidentally close the layer palette, I would come in here and go show layers, and it would open up. Now, when Painter first opens, its default is exactly what you see. You open up the color wheel, the mixer, color sets, and the layer palette. Now, I don't need the mixer or the color sets. There are many palettes in Painter that I don't use for photo painting. I only set up what I need for my workflow. So right over here, this little X, I'm closing it. I don't need the color sets. And I just want to use the layers and the colors for now. Let me open up two things for you. In File, Open is when I want to go and open up an image, which we're going to do over and over, and I'm going to show you how to interpret it into a painting. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to go and open up the bride that I prepared for painting. And here we go. So that's the image that I opened up, an image that's ready. If I wanted a plain blank canvas, I would do File, New, and I would put in the specifications that I want. We're going to leave it at default for now. So I have here now a blank canvas. So I can proceed to demonstrate all the different specifications of the brushes. Now let's choose color. So we know where the brushes, we know our property bar. Let's go into, for example, the acrylics. I'm choosing the acrylics. And now I want to paint with an acrylic brush. I'm going to come in here and choose a color. Now, how do I choose my color? In the color wheel, I'm going to choose the color that I want from the outside, from the ring. And let's say I dial in that I want green. Once I chose the green that I want, how much of that green, what value do I want? Do I want it totally saturated, pure green, which is all the way on the bottom in this corner? Or do I want a pure black, which can be all the way down here is the pure black of any color, and all the way on top is the pure white of any color. So again, I choose the color on the outside and how much of the color I want, which saturation in the middle. So let's just choose something like that, and I'm painting. Now to control the brush size, I come in here on the size and I go larger, which is way too big, or I go smaller. The opacity is standard opacity. If you lower the opacity, it's going to paint a little less. Saturation. Resaturation is very, very important value in the brush makeup. And I do an entire chapter on that later when we get into the blender category. But resatch basically means how much of paint is applied to your brush when you're painting with it. In other words, not where I am going, if it's a full red or a black, but actually how much of that paint. Think of it sort of like an opacity, but it's more than that. How much paint is applied to your brush. And I will demonstrate, like I said, when I go into the blenders category. Bleed is how far out your brush is going to paint in one stroke. And I will demonstrate that in different things. And jitter is basically how much your paintbrush had to drink last night. I'm just joking. If you're going to go and pick up the jitter, it jumps all over the place. It won't give you a straight line. And I guess if you drank too much, it's going to jump all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to go back to... Now I messed up with the brush. I picked up the bleed and I changed the opacity. And I want to get back the default of how that brush came from the factory because I don't remember all those numbers. There are two things that I can do to bring it back to its default. I can come in here on the right and I could say restore default variant. And what it does is it brings me back to its original default numbers. Well, let me mess it up again. And let me just do whatever to it. Let me lower the opacity. And this time, let me show you a really simple way to restore your brush. All you got to do is click on this little brush icon. And voila, it goes right back. So that's really easy. Anytime you come in and you playing around with the size, with the opacity, if you just want to get back to your original defaults of your brush, all you have to do is click on this little icon right there. Okay. So we know that we have our colors we choose from here and our brushes we choose in here. We have many different brushes and we'll go through them. And now we have here the layer palette. Again, the layer palette is found in your window menu and it is a standard layer palette. If you want a blank layer, you just click on this third icon right over here and it gives you a new layer. If you want to get rid of that layer, you hit on the garbage can. And the canvas is the same as the background layer in Photoshop. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through with you different brushes. There are two categories that are the heart and soul of photo painting. And what they are the blenders category, which is over here, and the cloners category. And the cloners category is right down here. Okay. And I will speak about each of them now separately.